Maybe I'm more concerned about your safety on dating apps than you are. Or maybe I'm not really your therapist and you're just here to get my take on these Reddit relationship posts. Am I overreacting by evicting my girlfriend before Christmas so she doesn't use my place for her grand party? My ex-girlfriend, 31 female, and I, 32 male, broke up 4 months ago after a long, dragged-out, stressful time with hurtful arguments over our vision of marriage and children and future. We both feel we are absolutely incompatible for each other. She has been living in my home since June 2024, and at the beginning, it seemed like a lovely idea to invite her to move in, assuming we would end up together and make a happy family after how intensely intimate we were. But things went downhill at the start of this year, and we ultimately decided we weren't good for each other. I believe this was posted in late 2025. I wish they said how long the relationship had lasted. It's been 4 months since she said she would look for a place. Now I'm hearing about her grand plans for a Christmas party at my place, which she didn't consider discussing with me. I own the home and I never asked for any rent, and she doesn't contribute to the maintenance of the home. Oh my gosh, things like this. I have heard of this happening so many times. I've experienced it personally. When you cannot get someone to move out of your home and months have gone by, it gets so uncomfortable. Those situations can get so messy. I am already hurt that she seems to have moved on, and I don't like the way she brings friends and strange people to my place. But she gets sensitive and defensive whenever I bring it up. See, that's another layer that makes things so much more complicated in a situation like this. Are you going to bring new partners, new dates around your ex? It's totally inappropriate for her to do that if she's living at his house. Absolutely not. You have to move out. I think a lot of people would take that as disrespectful. And then for him, like, if you're living with an ex-partner, it's unkind to bring new people around them and kind of flaunt it in their face. But if that ex isn't moving out for months and months, it's like they're holding your dating life hostage in that way. Last weekend, she and her friends left the kitchen and the home all dirty and in a way that shows a lot of rude entitlement on her part. It's clearly my mistake to have let it happen and having no sense of boundaries that allowed it to get to this point. She has abused my place without any sense of the decency that you'd show someone who has kindly let you stay because of the shared intimate history. I've decided to give her an ultimatum to leave the house before Christmas, and I am strictly not allowing any of her parties or friends at my place. The awkward part is that we were too intense and intimate to even consider any formal ways of approving or disapproving her stay at my place. I don't really know what that could mean other than that they had really poor boundaries. And I'm really glad OP is about to set this very strong boundary about Christmas and the Christmas parties. It sounds like it might feel like it came out of nowhere if no softer boundaries have been set and this conversation is not really happening, but sometimes it's better to set an overly strong boundary and just get one in place. You don't always have to prioritize other people's comfort when something is really negatively affecting you. I also feel partially guilty to come in the way of her happiness, as she always accuses me of that. Well, if that is how she feels, even more of a reason for her to move out and remove herself from the situation. It makes me feel guilty, and I wonder if it's too much, but her odd, entitled behavior has left me feeling like I have no choice. And I'm afraid she will not take it well and behave like I owe her to live here as long as she pleases, because that's what she's done throughout our relationship and since our breakup. And I just want a clean breakup without any of her drama. I feel I should have done it long ago, and now it's soon near Christmas, so I feel conflicted. I feel pretty lost here, and I have no idea how other people in similar circumstances have had a clean breakup. I'm afraid it's going to get messy soon. Yeah, babe, I think that expectation is out the window. If you are in a relationship with someone who has shown you, let's just say, any kind of toxic traits, any kind of manipulation or emotional dysregulation or weird entitlement, I think you have to let go of the hope for a really clean, easy breakup. And you should still do it if that's what you want. You should trust yourself to be strong and brave and capable as you go through that breakup. But I think a lot of times you might have to stomp on those eggshells that you've been tiptoeing over. I forgot to pick any comments to read from that original post because I was so distracted by the title of the update. Remember what I was just saying about how it's considerate not to bring new partners around your ex who's living with you, but that starts to break down if they won't leave? Am I overreacting starting by bringing a hookup home because my ex wouldn't move out and then she walked in on us. An update to my previous post. My ex and I broke up 4 months ago over our incompatibility with marriage and children, and she still hasn't moved out of my place. I own my place, otherwise I would have just left long ago. I've been trying to be patient and understanding, but it's been draining. We're not together, we're not trying to fix things, and emotionally it's been over for a long time. That is really important context. If that's true, I feel like OP is just getting used. She's basically been coexisting in my space while insisting she just needs more time. She has also been planning a grand Christmas party at my place, which I absolutely refused, and she cried her eyes out about. The way this Christmas party keeps being described as so grand, I'm gonna call my next Christmas party the grand Christmas party. There's a ring to it. I finally hit a point where I wanted to feel like my own person again. I met someone online, nothing serious, just someone I clicked with and felt comfortable around. We decided to hang out at my place because it was late, and honestly, I was tired of feeling like a guest in my own home. I thought my ex was out for the night. She said she'd be gone, but of course, because my luck is trashed, she came back early and walked right in on us. I think a subconscious part of me probably manifested that deeply. It was awkward as hell. Not explosive yelling, not a dramatic scene, just this heavy, stunned silence, followed by her saying she didn't realize I'd moved on like that, even though we're not together. And then she cried, and I felt awful, guilty, angry, confused all at once. The other person left immediately, understandably, and now the house feels like a pit of tension. I know I didn't technically do anything wrong, but I still feel horrible. I hate that it happened like that. I hate that I even had to navigate this situation at all. I hate that my home hasn't felt like my own for so long. Yeah, obviously that's probably not gonna feel good for anybody, but after 4 months, she should have been out of there. I can hear how tough this kind of confrontation is for OP, but it's really time to just rip the band-aid off at this point. Sit her down soon and reiterate that she needs to move out, that you need your own space, and that you will be moving on and dating. I'm sure it doesn't feel good for her, but she's hurting her own feelings at this point, living with her ex for so long. Info, were you just having sex out in the open in the living room in the same house that you currently share? And are you still having sex with this woman, the ex? I really don't think so. That would be a shady little detail that would change a lot. I think if it's felt over for such a long time, probably not. I love when people ask the questions I'm wondering myself, and this comment honestly captures it all. Sounds like he was having sex in his house, which is also under hostile occupation by a squatter. Yeah, it's so sad when it comes to harsh measures, but you need to serve her with eviction papers soon if she won't move out. At that point, after 4 months of actually trying to get this person to move out, I don't think you owe her anything, so not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for blowing up on my husband because he keeps eating my emergency snacks after I've asked him not to? Today, I, 29 female, blew up on my husband, 31 male, for eating my emergency snacks that I keep for hypoglycemic episodes. I am currently 19 weeks pregnant with my second baby. In my last pregnancy, during the glucose test they do to see if you have gestational diabetes, they discovered that I actually have hypoglycemia. This makes a lot of sense due to symptoms I experienced even before pregnancy. Well, during pregnancy, it's much worse. I have to eat at least every couple of hours to keep my energy levels up. Even doing this, sometimes I get hypoglycemic episodes out of nowhere. They are terrible to experience. I get the shakes and start to sweat, getting hot flashes. I feel like I'm going to pass out, I lose coordination, and I get brain fog. I keep a handful of specific snacks in the house and car for when I experience these symptoms. The insatiable hunger I feel during an episode is terrible. It's like I ran a marathon while fasting. Oh, I so relate to this poster because I unexpectedly developed type 1 diabetes during my first pregnancy. Pregnancy can really affect the way that your body processes insulin, sometimes irrevocably. And I also get these hypoglycemic episodes all the time. All of the symptoms she just described. It feels awful. My husband is really selfish when it comes to food, to put it bluntly. He's always eating my leftovers. If there's something we buy that we both enjoy, he eats the majority of it and leaves a little for me. Well, he's gotten into the habit of eating my emergency snacks. I started buying double so he could have his and I'd have my own. But he eats everything so much faster and in greater quantities than me. If he finishes his and sees that I still have mine, he will eat mine without even asking. I've had this conversation with him so many times, it's tiring. To please not eat my designated snacks unless he asks. He really doesn't think it's a big deal. Today I started to not feel good, so I went to grab one of my snacks, only to find out that he had taken it. I called him at work to see if he really did take it, and he said he did because he was running late to work and just needed to grab something easy. When there's a specific reason for the snacks and she's asked you not to over and over, there gets to be a point where how can you interpret it as anything but disrespect? I blew up on him. I'm tired from pregnancy, hormonal, and chasing around a toddler all day. Yes, we have other food in the house, but I keep these snacks because they're easy for me and boost my nutrition quickly. It seems so silly to be so upset over food, but I've exhausted myself having this conversation with him. He always says that he will just replace the food, but that doesn't help me in the moment I need it. I admittedly yelled at him and told him not to talk to me when he gets home and to figure out dinner for himself. So I guess my question is, am I the a-hole for being so upset over snacks? I don't think this person is so upset just over snacks. This person is upset about this unexplained breakdown in communication and feeling disrespected by her partner. For one thing, it sounds like they need to figure out a way to have way more snacks in the house. But for another, why is he not listening to her and communicating with her? I think she has every right to be upset about that when she's trying over and over to communicate and it feels like she's banging her head against the wall. Hypoglycemia can harm your baby, and his desire for a snack does not take precedence over your need for one. In fact, it's incredibly selfish of him. I would show him articles on the effects of hypoglycemia on a growing fetus, not the a-hole. I'd make an appointment with your OB so they can explicitly explain to your husband what is happening with your body during an episode, the impact on the wee life growing inside of you, and the real potential of you hurting yourself, your toddler, and the baby if you fall, faint, get a dizzy spell, blurred vision, etc. Not sure on the current info, but when I was pregnant, it could potentially lead to health complications for the baby, and it was very important to manage it to minimize the risk. If your husband really can't control his eating, he needs to see both his doctor and a therapist. Not the a-hole, not the a-hole, not the a-hole. Quote, I feel like I'm going to pass out, lose coordination, and get brain fog. Those snacks are medical necessities, not just food. Her husband is being inconsiderate and selfish by ignoring her health, especially while she's pregnant. I agree that the medical aspect really amplifies the disrespect here. I will just mention, there's like a nasal glucose spray for emergency situations that most people are prescribed kind of like an EpiPen. Whether OP has that or not, it does not justify her husband's behavior. I'm just saying if OP doesn't have that, they should for those extreme cases where they really are about to pass out. But still, her husband shouldn't keep eating these snacks when she's asking him not to. Honestly, from the way it sounds, I doubt he'd care. He seems like the type to dismiss medical advice he doesn't like as doctors being dramatic. He is clearly selfish and willing to take food out of his pregnant partner's mouth for his own convenience. Be prepared for him to eat all of the kiddos' snacks too, justifying it by saying it's just food. Yeah, whether he actively doesn't care or just passively doesn't bother to consider the issue further, the fact that his wife is having this conversation with him over and over and he doesn't seem to be respecting it is a red flag. He better walk through the door from work with an armful of your snacks for you and a bunch of flowers. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, I love that option. And then changed behavior so he's not tempted to take his wife's and leave her high and dry and ignore the valid concerns she's bringing up over and over. Am I the a-hole for eating my entire baked potato? I, 26, am writing this after what I thought would be a nice dinner spiraled into a huge argument. For context, a few days ago, my fiance's parents invited us over for dinner, and the planned meal was a steak with a baked potato and green beans. I've been with my fiance, 27 female, for 6 years, engaged for the last 2, and the first time she ever saw me eat a baked potato, skin and all, she was a little confused, but laughed it off and just said, just don't ever do that around my mom. I never thought much of that until today. Dinner started off well, general chit chat about work and some discussion about football. I'm an Eagles fan and her mom likes the Broncos, so there's always some playful banter there. The food comes out, they say a little prayer, and we start eating. Everything is fine until I start digging into the potato. My fiance's father tilted his head a little and looked at her but didn't say anything. The issue arose once her mother noticed and looked at me like I was the most disgusting and foul thing she'd ever seen. I didn't notice at first until she audibly made a gagging sound. Her mother then got up and ran straight to the bathroom. Both my fiance and her father went to check on her, and I was left sitting there confused as A few moments later, her dad came back and politely asked me to leave. This is the point where I'm starting to question if this can possibly be real. I know sometimes truth is stranger than fiction, but this is unbelievable. I asked if something was wrong, and he calmly explained that, as I've been told before, his wife has some dietary issues, and part of that includes potato skins. And seeing me eat my entire potato made her nauseous. I apologized and left. About 10 minutes later, as I arrived to my apartment, I get a call from my fiance. I answer and she immediately starts yelling at me, calling me an I'm surprised, as I didn't expect her to be so upset about this. I try apologizing and she cuts me off, saying I'm inconsiderate and rude. I start to get upset, but before I can say anything, she says, "Whatever, we'll talk in the morning." I tried calling her back and she sent me straight to voicemail. I've sent her multiple texts, but she has not read them. I am so confused as to whether I really am the a-hole. Who doesn't eat the skin of a baked potato? That's like the best part. That's crazy. Not the a-hole. It's her problem that she gags because of the way you eat. You ate in a perfectly normal way, not the a-hole. If her mother is that sensitive to other people eating something she doesn't like, she shouldn't serve it. Or at the very least, say something before vomiting. Beyond dramatic, in my opinion. But seriously, if the skin makes her react like that, I honestly cannot understand why she wouldn't just serve mashed potatoes instead. Legit drama queen right there that set herself up. I think that is a really great point, because why on earth would you serve something that is going to make you react like that? If OP continues to date his fiance, I would keep an eye out for behavior like that from the mother-in-law. This could just be a sign of things to come, with her acting really over the top and making herself the center of attention and getting her family to sort of revolve around her and her perspective. I'm 22 and I didn't even realize you could eat the potato skin until like last year. That being said, it's like my favorite part now. If she was dead, she needed to explain why you couldn't eat a potato skin in front of her mom, or she could not serve potatoes if the sight of people eating them really makes her sick. Not the a-hole. You mean your ex-fiance, right? Reddit will never hear any problem in a relationship and not root for the couple to break up. You don't immediately need to break up over some kind of a misunderstanding about potato skin, but you do really want to have a conversation with your fiance about how unreasonable that was and for them to have gotten angry with you about it. The skin is the most nutritious part. You weren't really notified of her mom's issues. I've always heard that too, that the skin is where all the nutrition is. I don't want to get distracted down a rabbit hole of research, but if you know whether or not that's true, please let me know below. Not the a-hole, and I'm glad you found out sooner than later. Not the a-hole. If she's so sensitive that she can't even see someone eat the skin, then she shouldn't serve it. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I'm really glad people are picking up on that part. Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend I refuse to eat her efficient food ever again? I can't wait to find out what efficient food is. Okay, this is stupid, but it's turning into a real argument, so here we are. I live with my girlfriend. We're both in our early 20s. Normally, no issues. She recently got super into productivity stuff, like watching TikToks about optimizing your life, cutting wasted time, etc. Last week, she said she was gonna start meal prepping for the week to save time. I said, cool, thanks, sounds good. Monday morning, I opened the fridge and there's literally one giant container, just one, with a sticky note on it that says meals. I opened it and I genuinely didn't know what I was looking at. It was chicken, rice, pasta, vegetables, eggs, cheese, some kind of oats maybe, all mixed together. Like, not soup, not solid, just mixed. I asked her what it was, and she said, completely serious, that she combined all the meals so she doesn't have to think about what to eat. She said it has everything you need, so it doesn't matter. I asked her if this was for like one day or something, and she said no, the whole week. She eats it cold, multiple times a day. She wanted me to eat it too. I tried a few bites to be polite, and it tasted like nothing and everything at the same time. I don't even know how to explain it. Imagine leftovers, but from 5 different people. I told her I really don't want to eat that, and asked if she could at least keep my food separate next time. She got annoyed and said I'm being picky and that your mouth mixes food anyway. That comment pushed me over the edge a little, and I said I'm not eating blended chicken, banana, oat nonsense, and that I don't want her cooking for me anymore if this is how it's gonna be. Now she's upset and says I'm disrespecting the effort she put in and that I'm acting like a child over food. I honestly feel like I'm going insane because I don't think it's crazy to want meals to be meals. Am I the a-hole? Well, that really seems to depend on the context of why your girlfriend is doing all of the cooking for you. Are you doing something else that's making up for all that time and labor? I don't want to assume that that's not the case. Maybe it is. But unfortunately, very often people really take for granted how much work and time and effort goes into making every single meal. And in a situation where one person is doing all the cooking, the other partner kind of needs to take on something really substantial to make that fair. Of course, that's so silly to be mixing all the meals together. I don't know if the girlfriend really is serious about that efficiency thing, or if this is her way of ending that dynamic where she does all the cooking. Not the a-hole. She can eat her Willy Wonka 3-course dinner chewing gum, and you can eat whatever you like to eat. You're not being disrespectful for turning down food. You are both grown adults who can make their own dietary decisions. Not the a-hole. I'm kind of fascinated by her meals decision, to be honest, and on some level I have to give her credit to committing to such an extreme food ideology. But since the dawn of time, people have gone to great effort to do specific different things to different foods. And if she wants to diverge from that, then that's her own business, but she can't possibly expect you to do the same. Where I need more info though is why she's doing all the cooking. And is she cooking separate meals and then combining them, or is she taking all those ingredients and cooking them all together at once? If the latter is the case, and if she's really committed to efficiency, then you have to take responsibility for cooking your own meals now. Yeah, it kind of sounds like you might have to anyway if she really is passionate about this. You were not clear, but if you don't want to eat things like what she made, you need to make your own meals. If she doesn't agree with you cooking your own meals, then she needs to grow up. I decided to become vegan about 5 years ago after 25 years of marriage. My husband did not want to eat vegan, so he had to learn to cook his own meals because he did not like my new way of cooking. And at the same time, I can't imagine telling my husband that he has to eat vegan or he's disrespectful. Your girlfriend is not obligated to make your meals, and you are not obligated to eat her meals. Can you two compromise and she eats what you make for 3 meals and you eat her crap for 3 meals? I'll tell you, I would be eating that no meals. Otherwise, you need to do what we do. Each make your own meal. This person quoted, "Now she's upset and says I'm disrespecting the effort she put in." Effort? What effort? She just poured a bunch of different food into a giant container because she can't be bothered to put in the effort to properly meal prep for the whole week. Literally nobody meal preps like this, not the a-hole. Yeah, if the story is real, there is no way the girlfriend is serious. In which case, it almost feels like it could be very passive aggressive. You have a right to not do all the cooking for your family if you don't want to, but ideally you would talk about that. So if this is some kind of passive aggressive sending a message, there was probably a more appropriate way, but this is a pretty funny way. Everyone sucks here. Everyone sucks here for you not being involved in meal prep until you've got something that you don't like. Then having your initial response be, "At least keep my food separate next time." Then saying you don't want her cooking for me anymore if this is how it's going to be. Odd response that implies you weren't involved in meal prep in the first place. It's even odder that your initial response wasn't to get involved in meal planning or take over making your own meals. It was to suggest she do things differently for you. If that's how it's going to be is off-putting to my ears. Yeah, if you're gonna tell a story like this, it'd be nice to give the context, if there is any, as to why those are the dynamics of your relationship. I definitely don't think it's impossible for a couple to have a fair relationship where one person does the majority of the cooking, if there's some kind of an exchange that's making that fair. But yeah, a lot of the wording in this just does come off as a little bit entitled. Everyone sucks here for your girlfriend and her defensive response and name calling, picky and acting like a child. While I agree you seem to be disrespecting the effort she's put in, I'm assuming this commenter means in general preparing the meals, or at least not respecting or recognizing it, her response isn't okay. And her argument about how mouths mix up food doesn't make a lot of sense either. You two need to have a calm, productive conversation about household responsibilities and expectations. Also, while your girlfriend's food prep ideas seem a bit weird to me, the idea of efficiency and simplicity are not. Being a partner in making meals from the beginning, from menu planning to shopping through prepping and cleanup, could help accomplish that. All this conflict could have been avoided had you been part of the process beyond a "cool, thanks, sounds good." To be honest, if I were in your girlfriend's shoes, I would have felt my efforts were unrecognized at that point, if not before. And I would have mentioned it then, suggesting we needed to meal plan together, even if I was willing to do the meal prep myself. Yeah, assuming that that wasn't left out, again, the girlfriend probably should have talked to her partner about it if she was starting to get resentful. As long as you are prepping your own food and not expecting her to prep twice or change her admittedly bizarre meal prep process to suit you, not the a-hole. Yeah, a lot of things that point otherwise in the story though. Am I overreacting, or is it not normal to use soap in the bathroom? I feel ridiculous even asking this, but I honestly don't know if I am missing something or being gaslit. I'm a black woman and my boyfriend is white. This is the first white man I've ever dated, which is relevant because I keep wondering if I'm misunderstanding something cultural. The cultural thing is going to be about not using soap. My boyfriend does not regularly use soap when he showers. He says he rinses with water and that soap is optional unless you're visibly dirty. He will sometimes use shampoo, but body soap is inconsistent at best. He also doesn't always use soap while washing his hands in the bathroom and says that hot water is enough. When I brought this up, he told me that I'm overreacting and that this is a white people thing and that I'm judging him through my own cultural lens. He said growing up, his family didn't obsess over soap the way mine did, and that my expectations are based on how I was raised, not on what's medically necessary. He said different ethnic groups get dirtier at different rates, so he does not need soap as often as I do. Oh my god, I feel like that's where his excuses go from funny to vile. And boy, does he have a lot of excuses. This man must get sick so often. This really threw me. In my family and community, soap is not optional. You shower daily, you use soap, you wash your hands properly, you use a bar of soap to wash your... It's basic hygiene. I've never had to explain this to an adult partner before. This is so unreal because this guy has been presented with the evidence that he's not having proper hygiene. Not only is he not taking that in, he has so many defenses up for that. He's even willing to hurt his partner and say something racist. How could you not hear yourself say that and recognize a problem? I would be so hurt if my partner genuinely seemed to believe that I just get dirtier at a faster rate than them. I would honestly want to have a lot of conversations unpacking that, and it might even prompt me to want to go to couples therapy if this relationship is worth saving, because what other beliefs are lurking around in there? The problem is that it affects shared spaces. Our towels smell. Our sheets smell faster than they should. I question his bathroom and backdoor hygiene. Because sometimes there's a poop smell when we are intimate. That is a moment of silence. Oh my goodness. He insists I am imagining it because black people are too uptight about using soap all the time and using washcloths. He even makes fun of me for using washcloths. I've had to re-wash laundry because things don't feel clean. I feel uncomfortable inviting people over because I'm worried the house smells off, even if he insists I'm imagining it. When I push back, he insists I'm being judgmental and culturally insensitive, and that I need to stop projecting my standards onto him. He says that if I really understood him, I'd realize this is normal where he comes from and that I'm making it a bigger issue than it needs to be. I'm just feeling such deep gratitude for how hygienic my husband is. I did briefly date a stinky boy and it is rough. He probably had similar hygienic habits. And that's the thing, I think that there genuinely is at least a subgroup that this does apply to, because I feel like I've met them. Now I'm stuck questioning myself. Is this actually a cultural difference I should be more open-minded about? Or is this just bad hygiene dressed up as something deeper? I don't want to be unfair or ignorant, but I also don't want to live like this. I feel like his bad hygiene is negatively impacting my life, and I don't have any white female friends to ask. Am I overreacting for being bothered by this, or is it reasonable to expect soap to be non-negotiable in a shared home? I honestly think that if this is a pattern in a lot of white families, it comes from a place of neglect. Like nobody was teaching them how to bathe, which is why it's so mind-boggling to me that instead of this guy like learning, maybe being a little embarrassed and realizing that he did not have good hygiene, he's like digging his heels in. No, this is part of my white culture. That's a dirty person thing, not a white person thing. Your boyfriend just never learned proper hygiene. Yeah, I've heard there are cultural differences in terms of using washcloths or not, but soap is necessary to clean yourself. Does he wash his hands after a poop? And is he not using soap for clothes? Water alone does not get things clean. Have him put marker on himself and see how long it takes to come off with just water. OP says he uses a Dollar Tree detergent for laundry, but I use the name brand. His clothes noticeably smell worse than mine. He does not use soap after the toilet. Everyone uses soap except for your boyfriend. Exactly. This isn't a white thing. This is an OP's boyfriend thing. Sounds like she picked one of those guys we've been hearing about who smells like literal shit because he doesn't wash or wipe properly. He also sounds high-key racist, saying certain ethnic groups get dirtier quicker than others. I'd get rid of him if I were OP. This is not fixable. Is this rage bait? Cultural difference, all cultures should be using soap. Your boyfriend is disgusting. And I question you as well, because what the F do you mean it smells like shit when y'all are having sex? This is how infections start too. Please go find someone who understands basic hygiene, because this is truly insane. Not overreacting, but please try to get him onto proper hygiene or leave him if he's unwilling. The fact that you even smell him and his especially when you're being intimate, is diabolical, and you deserve a clean man. And OP says, I want a clean man, but he is acting like I have abnormally high standards for what clean is. I'm really stuck on different ethnic groups getting dirtier at different rates, and that you as a black woman get dirtier than he does faster. Not overreacting, your boyfriend is dirty, and he seems to have some very, at the best, misguided information. Edit, I couldn't remember the word, but at the very least, this is a microaggression towards you as a black woman. This part, I'd be concerned what else OP's boyfriend thinks have different rules based on ethnicity. OMG, you are definitely not overreacting. Your boyfriend is quite literally full of shit. White people use soap every time they shower. There is a very small contingent of people who don't use soap, and I'm pretty sure it's cross-cultural, but these people are in the minority. Please stop having sex with this man until he begins to wash his ass with soap. It is a urinary tract / vaginal infection waiting to happen. And tell him you call bullshit on his white people don't use soap, because that's exactly what it is. Bull. Signed, a white person who was taught to use soap every time she showers and or uses the toilet. Not overreacting. Did his gross just reverse racism basic hygiene? Okay, I'll be your white girlfriend. He is full of shit and smells like it too. Besides his bad hygiene, what is even more concerning is his comment that different ethnic groups get dirty at different rates. And because he's white, he doesn't need soap as often as a black person. That is completely outrageous and deeply racist. I don't think this guy is right for you, because even without the racist comments, he should care about how you feel and not resort to gaslighting you. You are simply too good for him and deserve much better. Literally just treated a patient in hospital who has urosepsis, which developed from a UTI due to poor hygiene / bedroom habits. You can die, and yes, it is that serious. Half the world's population has died from dysentery-related health issues in human history due to no access to soap and clean water. Soap is a direly needed privilege that some people would kill for. Your boyfriend has soap but chooses to be a filthy grub and puts you in danger. Not to mention the social stigma that you're feeling about the house being gross. Not cool. He needs to wake up to himself or get dumped. OP says, I want to let him know that I know he is with me and trying to gaslight me. I don't think I can change him at this point. Yeah, if that's really what you think, maybe you just put it in the breakup letter. Am I overreacting to what this woman did on a first date? I met a woman on Hinge back in October. We texted and had a few phone calls throughout November. During one of those calls, she told me she was dating around, and I was fine with that. I decided to visit her on New Year's Eve and drove 2 hours to her city to see her for the first time in person, as I live in a different state. She had just moved into a new apartment, so I helped her assemble the furniture and cooked for her while she got settled. I spent the night at her place celebrating New Year's Eve. During dinner, she started texting with her other dates while we were eating together. At one point, she was so distracted that she called me by another guy's name while I was trying to have a conversation with her. I didn't react, and I just laughed it off. Eventually, we went to bed. Nothing happened, just some cuddling. The next morning, while lying next to me, she was texting and liking her other guy's Instagram posts. I asked if those were other men she was seeing, and she said yes. I left later that day, but I didn't completely cut contact. 2 days later, we talked on the phone, and I told her how uncomfortable I felt that she was engaging with other guys while spending time with me. And I said I couldn't continue to see her if that behavior continued. She apologized and said she would respect my request and focus on us when we were together. A day ago, while on FaceTime, she started texting another guy again while talking to me. Then she said, okay, other guy's name, I have to go get ready for work. I thanked her for her time and hung up, even though she repeatedly begged me to stay on the phone while apologizing. I blocked her everywhere today. Yeah, that's a sign of someone who is enjoying being on the dating apps. Some people are looking for a relationship, and some people are more addicted to the cycle. And this just reminds me of that. People start juggling way too many people, and then for some people, that can sabotage any chance of finding a deeper relationship. Not overreacting. She called you by another guy's name twice. It's just a clear example that she doesn't respect you, dude. She's focused on other guys that she's seeing so much that she can't even remember who she's with. Yeah, if she's mixing up your name while you're literally right in front of her, her attention is clearly elsewhere. Yeah, I agree. I would also find that disrespectful. Not overreacting. Let's be honest, she was using you while having no actual interest in you. Yep, drove 2 hours on New Year's Eve, no other plans, cooked for her while she unpacked, and didn't even have I don't think OP was ever actually dating her. But also doing all of this does not mean that she's entitled to have sex with you. What the hell? Of course not. Not on a special New Year's Eve trip with 4 hours travel time is just a bad relationship sign though. I'm gonna give this commenter the benefit of the doubt and assume that they missed the part where this wasn't any sort of a deeper relationship yet. They were getting together for the first time. Not if it's the first time you met. Not everyone is interested in having sex the first time they meet someone. Her actions were rude, but not having sex with him is not a strike against her or a red flag. Yeah, absolutely. Not overreacting. This is a matter of personal respect. Even if you are fine about not being exclusive right now, it wouldn't be okay with her to be engaging with anyone this much during your time together. I wouldn't stay with this kind of person either. I was going to say you're overreacting until you said she agreed not to talk to other guys while you two were together. I don't think you're overreacting, but I do think you should just try to find someone who's not dating around. It's okay to want someone to focus on you, and there are plenty of women who would do that. Dating around isn't the problem here, her being rude on the date is. It does seem like a problem to OP. From the fact that he drove 2 hours to see her, he probably really liked her and only accepted in order to try to make her choose him, or hoped that she would stop dating around after a first date. I did not say she wasn't rude on the date. She was, and is at fault for agreeing to his request and still doing the opposite. However, OP should maybe try to find someone who's not dating around and not try to compete with other people because that dynamic doesn't work for him. Yeah, it could just be that the way that she's dating around is not compatible with what OP's looking for. There is not a single decent human who is going to manage to have her focus. She's in a totally other nervous system state. Glad you blocked her. I think that comment's spot on. When you are getting so much from the dating apps, which again, I can't know for sure, but it just sounds like might apply to this date, it is kind of hijacking your nervous system. I also think that that was a good idea to just step away from that one because you've already tried to communicate, you've already tried to express how you feel. Am I overreacting? My husband keeps touching my nose. Apologies for the clickbait title. I, 35 male, have pretty oily skin and extremely low self-esteem. My T-zone is the worst and I frequently get spots there. I use appropriate face washes and moisturizers to minimize it and it generally works pretty well. My husband, 36 male, is playful and tactile. He's also pretty untidy and clumsy. I've had breakouts in the past and have explicitly asked, almost begged him not to touch my nose at these points, knowing that hands are pretty gross parts of our anatomy and any dirt or oil he has on his hands will make my skin worse. Last night I noticed a new breakout and did the appropriate skincare. He was stroking my face and I told him nicely that I had a new breakout and could he please not touch my nose. No sooner than I'd finished speaking, he tried to grab my nose. I feel like it's an intentional disrespect at this point because it happens every time and I end up getting a bit mad and ultimately hurt. Am I overreacting? I'd be very upset. I'm curious to know how explicitly OP has expressed how serious this is for him. You're not overreacting. He's getting his kicks from doing something you've repeatedly asked him not to do. And adding, if someone keeps doing something after you've clearly said it bothers you, that's not a joke anymore. That's disrespect. Yes, it's a power play and it's mean. Not overreacting at all. It's sit down time. Yeah, I agree with that. Like sit down and have a really serious conversation about this and about how much it's bothering you. Even though this is such a small thing, it's a huge red flag when someone goes out of their way to ignore boundaries like that. If you have expressed, it feels really bad that you will not respect me asking you not to touch me in this way. I don't know, that would be a huge problem, but I would make sure that you express it very directly. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and I'll see you next time.